All right. So we're going to go ahead with the first panelist. Actually, we can go in order by how I see you all. So, Coach D, can you go ahead and do an introduction, please?
We are introducing ourselves. Okay.
Yes.
How y'all doing? I am Coach D. I'm here based in Dallas, Texas, an influencer, three-time author. I have three books. I do a lot of community activist work here in Dallas and everywhere actually. Influencer, model. I co-own a salon suite business as well here in Dallas, and my movement is just really about like empowering from within, self-love, healing. I also am the founder and CEO of an organization called Mask Gent Bosses, which I recently launched at the end of December last year. And it's like just really taken off. And what this organization is a queer community centered around masked lesbians, trans masked, and non-binary folks who represent as masculine, who are entrepreneurs, influencers, community change makers. And we're coming together in unity and empowerment, showing up in our authenticity unapologetically, because you don't usually see that. So I've been to bridge the gap between the trans and masked lesbians. So it's been pretty cool. We hosted our first brunch back in March, leadership brunch, and it was a turnout, huge success. So again, I just look forward to continuing the work, just showing my light and love and healing and being queer all through it. So that's in a snippet. I'm grateful to be here. So thanks for having me, LaJoya. You've been a joy to work with.
Thank you. Next lyric, please.
Hey, what to do, everybody? It's your girl, Lyric Janae, and I am a four-time author now. When I wrote my current book, I was only a two-time author. I recently got published by an international publishing company, and I also was featured in their recent magazine. Um, I also started way back about 10 years ago with Meaningful Exchanges. I am the CEO. It is a creative collective for the LGBTQ community, and it's basically just a safe haven. And as an author, I promote the same thing, and that's just creating safe spaces, having people be seen, heard, and believed. And that's just my motto: uplift, empower, and inspire others. So that's it.
Love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Jamie.
Okay, mine's going to be short and quick because y'all are amazing. And so thank you for having me, LaJoya. This is
Of course.
been in contact with each other for a while, so it's been really nice to be here, to be considered for this panel. I've only written one book. I'm more
That's
of an
okay.
academic on the panel. I had to do more academic work. Yes, and that's my wife. I had to do, a book. Well, I didn't have to do the book. I did the book, and I'm sure we'll talk about what inspired the book. But it started when I was visiting actually an assistant professor, I'm sorry, at Virginia Commonwealth University. And because of the position that was in, it was really unique. It allowed me to write the books. So I have one book and really excited about it. I've been going and touring and sharing the book and the experiences I had with the writing and oral histories and all that good stuff. I'm a professor at Clark Atlanta University and at Kennesaw State, both part time, looking for full time, but both part time. I had to move back to Atlanta to be with my wife, so here we are. And so that's basically me. Working on a podcast now called Daughters of the South, so I'm really excited to really push that a little bit more. And that's basically it.
Nice.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Ms. Sheba.
Hi, everybody. I am Sheba Simpson Amsterdam. I am a native New Yorker. I was born in the Bronx, but I was raised in Harlem. I am a Harlemite through and through. I'm an educator for the past 26 years. Maybe I look it, but I am uh, a veteran educator. I'm an author of this book. I'm on assignment Inc. I'm on assignment and so are you. I'm also the founder and CEO of the nonprofit I'm on Assignment Inc., and that is based on educating advocacy, educating in terms of special education services, advocacy, financial literacy, and social justice. I am also a keynote speaker for Black Speakers Network, and in which, you know, I freelance and speak when I'm asked on different topics. And I am so happy to be here. Thank you, LaJoya, for having me be part of this. And I really believe that I'm among some, you know, women who are doing big things and going to continue to do big things, because I intend to do big things.
Amen.
So I'm glad to be here and to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead into our first question. And like I said before we started, you can just let me know who wants to go, and then we'll make it super, or, you know, informal or whatever. But let's go. What inspired you to begin your writing journey, and how has your identity shaped your voice as an author?
Yeah, want me to?
I
I was like,
Go ahead.
I was looking over there at Jamie. I was like, Jamie, okay.
I was like, I'll go after you.
Okay, there you go.
I'll be quick, and maybe we can just bounce off each other. All right. I'm definitely grateful to be here with all of y'all too. I think for me, what inspired me was my healing journey. You know, just going on a self-love journey or the self-discovery journey. I'm a preacher's kid. That's a whole nother situation.
Oh, it is.
That's
And it is.
A whole nother one, right? And so I hid a lot of myself for a long time, especially for my family, being in that religious world. But I struggled internally for a very long time. And so when I started to go on a journey, got in therapy, just really started to learn myself and love myself, I started to get this strength to say, hey, you know, you need to start sharing more. And I started sharing with people that were around me, my communities or job, people I was at. I started to notice I was sharing a little more, but I still wouldn't do it around my family. Y'all know how that be. So I felt like as I started to discover me, started to heal and get stronger in me and shed more of me, I was like, you know what? I got a story inside of me. I done been through some shit. I need to start sharing this. So I remember going on a journey and writing the first book, just writing it, not sure if I was gonna put it out there. But when I finally put it out there, y'all was shaking when I released this thing. Like it took me 6 to 8 months, but I was like, I gotta put this out. I gotta do it. Like God divine was telling me to do it. And so when I did it, it was so much support. It was wild. Like people were like supported and they read it. And I was still kind of scared. I knew my family was like, what she got going on? I'm like, I'm talking about y'all ass in there too. Without saying too much names, and I don't know, you know, sometimes people find out they try to get you. But I was like, let me share my experience. And so that amplified my voice. It got me out of this fearful space to say, you know what, you're inspiring other people. This is bigger than you. So keep going, stand in that as a masked lesbian, as someone that's been in a religious, that's Black, share that. And it started giving other people hope and empowerment that maybe they could share and write books too. And I've seen it. And so starting that, coming out of that fearful thing, that got me going.
Thank you. Jamie?
Well, I'll go ahead. My journey actually started so in grad school. So when I started, and I think it's when I was, well, let me back up. I went to North Carolina A&T, and then that's how I got to Clark Atlanta. And when I started my grad school program at Clark, I was doing a lot of Black feminists. We were studying a lot of Black feminists, Africana feminism, and all that thing. So we were studying a lot of Black women and what they had to say. And what I wanted to see more of was things that related to my life. So I'm like, I'm not seeing many Black lesbians. I'm not seeing many Black queer women and the work that they're talking about and how they're entering into this this feminist conversation, or Black feminist conversation. And so that was where it kind of like the seed was planted in that. And then in my own journey and coming out when I was in grad school, and coming out to my own and being in Atlanta, and Atlanta being Atlanta.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Woo! My Lord. But it was so interesting. But right. But coming into my own, and even what was going on in my personal life wasn't mirroring what I was seeing in the scholarship and the work that I was studying, because it was stuff that actually fed me. And so that was part of it. And the other part of it was um okay, that was actualizing like my Black queerness and Black lesbianism and what that meant. But I think what really inspired the book that I wrote was when I went to Vegas, and I have this in the book, this experience. When I went to Vegas to teach, it was a visiting assistant professor position at UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And over there, they always joke with me because they were like, "Oh, you so Southern," and I was just like, "I don't really." It was so weird. I didn't feel out of place because of my queerness or my lesbianism. I didn't feel out of place because of my Blackness, though because I'm like, there are Black people, there are queer people, they're lesbian. Like, it's so free in Vegas.
Mhm.
But what I was missing was the Southern part, and that being part of my identity, and that being something that I'm like, is part of my queerness and part of my lesbian identity. My Southern identity informs my lesbian identity and my queer identity. So all of those things inspired the book and my own personal journey. So that's the preface to the book actually is called "Oh, you real Southern," because that's actually what a student told me when I was in Vegas, because I said something like, "Oh, bless your heart," and it was just, I didn't even think about it. But then she said, "Oh, you real Southern." And I was like, I don't know. I didn't know if that was offensive. Are you trying to be funny, or like, what's the tea here, sis? But those are really what drove this. And so I began interviewing women. In persons. I interviewed 39 folk, and I shared their story because I felt like there's a story, very much like Coach D mentioned. There's a story that we need to tell, and we have to do it unapologetically, because it is something that will save someone. It was something that when I see younger queer lesbian folk who read it or know that I wrote it, it's like, thank you for telling our story. Because I think in the South, we have a very unique experience with coming out and like what that looks like for us. So I just felt like that needed to be out there more, because I know I dealt with it. So even as I was interviewing with these women in persons, it was like I heard my story too. It was healing for both of us.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I love that. Representation matters, visibility.
Amen.
Mhm.
Amen.
That part. Yes.
Lyric.
Yep, I'll go. Um, I started writing when I was 6 years old. Always from the very beginning, I always found writing as my safe haven, my safe space. As you can see, I'm a very quiet person. So the way I get my point across, the way that I get my words out is by writing. That's where I feel most comfortable. So as a Black, queer, neurodivergent, disabled, non-binary individual, you know, I felt like all those marginalized communities need a voice, especially, well, especially all of them. But right now, for me in my life, especially being disabled and dealing with chronic pain and chronic illness. So that's where the journey for Whispers of Resilience, a Conqueror story, came from, because my motto is conquer everything. And it doesn't mean that you always have to win to be successful. You can fail and still win. Just don't give up. Don't quit. Keep going after your dreams. What your passion is matters. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter who tells you can't do it. No, no, and they try to put these ceilings on you. No, go through the ceiling, go through the roof, go to the moon, go to wherever you choose to go. You know what I'm saying? So when I wrote this book, I had just come out of severe depression, anxiety, PTSD. I still struggle with it. I have social anxiety, as you could probably tell. But when you have a chronic illness, when you have chronic pain never goes away. It's there 365, 24/7, every second of the day. Even when you're sleeping, you're in pain. So you're never not in pain. There's no such thing as that. And that's something that a lot of people do not realize about chronic pain and having a chronic illness. So I was at a place where I was on the brink of mental insanity. I lost myself. I gained over 100 and something pounds. I was the heaviest I've ever been. And I just didn't care. I was tired of suffering. I wanted to give up. And I was like, you know what? Take this pain and do something with it. Because regardless, no matter what you do, you're going to be in pain. So take that pain and do something with it, and help someone else. Let someone else know that there's someone out there who understands what it is to not be believed, to not be heard, to not be seen because I'm a queer Black person going into a doctor's office so they don't believe my pain, you know? And even with just therapists, I've had therapists fall asleep with me in the middle of a panic attack where I could have went extremely left. But it's like these are stories that people need to hear because we're just not heard enough. We're not heard enough. So what I decided to do was to take all of me, all of my soul, all of my heart, everything that I had been through, and put it in this book to let people know that no matter what you go through, you can get through it. All it takes is a small, small, small amount of hope, just a whisper, because that's what happened for me. It was a whisper. God whispered in my ear, and he was like, "You got this. Hold on. Hold on to that little, little tiny bit of hope, that mustard seed of hope that you have, because it will bring you to the other side." And since then, I've been going nothing but up. I've been going nothing but up. I lost 100 pounds. I just got a Women of Distinction award. So it's like this book wasn't in vain, and I know it's not in vain. And it's gonna touch someone somehow in some way because there's poems in here, there's stories in here, it's lessons in here, it's everything in here. It's everything in one book. It's not just a novel in verse. It's everything in one book. You know what I'm saying? It's my journey to share with others so they know that they have a safe haven and they're heard. So that's it.
I love that. I love
Wow.
that. Well, you let that spirit speak through you,
Exactly.
I did because
You had no social anxiety.
Exactly. I can tell either. Go ahead.
You a
Okay.
safe place. That's beautiful. Thank you. I
love
love that. I
Thank
love
you so much, Lyric. And Miss Sheba.
so how do I go behind that?
Right.
I went first.
I'll be like, next question.
I'll take the next question. No, my journey is one of I ran for city council here in New York in 2021, and all of the people that I met had such similar stories. And they lived maybe in the same neighborhood, in the same building, but didn't talk to each other, but their stories were so similar. And they had these great ideas to help our community, our city be better than it was and is. And so after the election, I said, I can't let this work, go. I said, let me write a book, and then let me also open up this nonprofit to let people know that there is someone that hears you, that there is someone, and I'm not this just unique person, but I wanted them to know that there's a place and a person that they can still go to that believes in their ideas, their greatness, their brilliance, that is often overlooked when we're supposedly the marginalized community. And I tell people this all the time. We are not marginalized. We are just not supported, right? We are people who they want to go away, but we know that we're not going to go away because we belong here. I'm also tell you my phone is dying, so this is why I'm going back and forth off the camera. So bear with me. But for me, writing my book was also to give purpose. It's about purpose, finding your purpose, answering your assignments that God placed in you before you were even born, to complete them, and then to connect to those people like we're connecting today, because we have a baton to pass. If you don't complete your part of the assignment, you can't connect to the people who need you to complete your assignment so they can pass the baton. When people look at saying, yes, right now we feel like we in this space where we're going backwards, but the reality is this is our opportunity to force progress to go forward. And our stories are so important. And so when I say purpose, there is purpose in all of us. All have value. And that is what my book is trying to tell people. Find your value, know who you are, connect with those people, even when you want to slap the mess out of that. That could be actually the person you need to get connected to, so you can go forward and then connect them with other people. One of my gifts in this life is I'm a connector. Two people who would never have spoken or known each other meet through me, and then they make magic, whatever it is. And so I continue to say, I am a vessel. I'm just the vessel. I'm just the voice. I am not the know-it-all. I'm just the mouthpiece. And so my book is a mouthpiece to give people a direction in which they can go forward, and complete their earthly assignments. And my nonprofit, again, is to empower our communities, both individually and as a community, because there is such brilliance in not only in Harlem, but throughout New York City and throughout the world. And so when I go on book tours, my message is this. My message came out of running for an election, but it also born a book that will reach everyone who is supposed to have that message.
Love that. Love that. Thank you. Thank you. And you're definitely right. Everyone has a purpose. Find out what your purpose is and make sure that you don't stop. You can't stop. There's times that you want to and feel like your purpose is not really your purpose, but it is. It definitely is. So thank you for that. I realize on these questions, it doesn't ask about your book. So
this is true.
That's crazy. I'm like, chat, come on now.
Come on, chat.
So my question is
Excellent questions, y'all.
tell me about your book. Tell me what how you got started writing it and where we can actually find your book. If you have a link, please put it in the chat. If you want to give it to me later, that's fine. I will send it out to people. But yeah, tell me about your book, and you know how we can support.
Can I go back because my phone is just doing whatever it wants to do?
Yeah.
My book is on Amazon, so you can go in, and I'm actually a co-author of another book, which is also on Amazon. In the name of the book is Choose Purpose Over Fear, Win Every Time. And my chapter is they can block you, but they can't stop you. How to overcome political and professional sabotage. And as you can, like I said, I ran for city council here in New York. And I'm going to tell you, when they tell you that politics is dirty, I'm going to tell you, they never lied. It is a dirty game, but you know what? As Kendrick Lamar said, I did it with integrity, and still in us tried to hate, and that's my story. I did it with integrity. I'm proud of my accomplishment. I'm proud of the people that I met. People still contact me from the election. People still ask me. Matter of fact, one of the bankers that my campaign account was in, she saw me yesterday. She said, "When you running again?" And I said, "When I retire," which was supposed to be this year, but I changed my mind. And so just to put a pin in that for 1 minute. So the book is on Amazon. And again, it's about your purpose, finding your purpose, living your truth, connecting with those people you're supposed to connect with, so they can connect with the people who they're supposed to connect with. So our society moves forward in a positive way. A lot of people at this point, under this new administration, are fearful. And I'm going to say this: in every situation, when it's darkest, that's your opportunity to find the light, right? And I may sound like VP Kamala Harris by saying that, but I'm not saying she stole my idea, but but we're both on the same page in terms of you can't let anybody deter you from what God told you to do. And people say, oh, your book is about spirituality. It didn't start off like that, but it definitely, I am a spiritual person. I know that, again, purpose is within all of us. And so, again, that's what my book is about in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
Well, I'll go. I actually have my book right here. I put the link in the chat because I do send out personalized signed copies. And wherever I'm traveling or doing speaking engagements, especially for organizations, I usually sell them to them as a part of the package. But it's on Barnes and Noble, but I haven't, people have been telling me to put it on Amazon, but I really I needed to. It's doing well on its own, but this is actually my bestseller, Heal That Shit. I don't know if y'all can see. They're all pocket-sized books because I play ball. So I'm all about playbook style books. We got Coach D's book. This was the very first one. As you can see, my hair was short. My hair is super long now. This was the one that I released, just kind of giving everybody an insight into how I started the journey of self-love. Coach D's playbook, 5 Ways to Become a Champion of Self-Love. And then Heal That Shit was more of an extension of my growth and a spiritual journey within my soul, where I talk about my experience even deeper, my religious trauma, even being in a relationship and married, what that was like, navigating that, just healing, coming more into myself. And in this one, The Comeback Kid, how self-love helped me build a prosperous life, is basically like kind of like where I am now. Like how I've been able to accept myself and navigate through so many things, my mother wounds, my father wounds, like spirituality, breaking those chains of those religious chains, and really finding my own freedom and way, and doing that through self-love. These are my stories, and I know that's another question, but I'm working on something else right now. More poetry. I've gotten into poetry, so I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, chat got me on some stuff.
See?
Because I got a lot of friends who do spoken word and they're into that. And I was like, you know what? We reflections. But anyway, my books are about my becoming. They're a continuum of my becoming and my healing, and just being able to share my story with people. People have been able to resonate, especially in the queer community. They're like, wow, I'm going through that too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I have a copy of my book here too.
I
love how we're like, say less.
Let's go. Let me see. Put it up.
Exactly.
This is the hard copy of it, but the title is Snapping Beings, Voices of a Black Queer Lesbian South. Actually, a local artist, Michaela Fields, created this collage for me. She's a collage artist out of Atlanta, and so she helped with the cover. So people love the cover of it. I was like, well, that's because I met her for lunch one day and I said, this is what the book is about and this is what she created. I said, perfect. We only had 2 mock-ups and that was it.
Okay.
But the book, long story, I'll give you the non-academic version because, I have academic, but it chronicles the journey of how the Southern Black queer girl goes from being the Southern Black queer girl in her grandma's kitchen to being like grown full, Southern Black queer lesbian, and what that means and what that looks like for her. So it takes you on a journey from grandma's kitchen and snapping beans. That's where the inspiration came up, because snapping beans is a Southern thing. It's a communal thing that we do with our families. It's deeply Southern. And so that's something that I take that same theme of like snapping beans throughout the book, and how the stories of these women and persons are like when you're sitting around with grandma and them snapping beans. And I was able to use grandma and them. Like, that's interesting that they let me say grandma and them in the text. Shout out to my publisher. But so it chronicles that journey of hurting and healing, and how the South acts as a main character, so that in relationship with the South, i.e. the church. I was originally going to do the church, workplace, and politics. However, as I started interviewing these women in persons, the church, it was a lot to unpack. Like you mentioned, Coach D, is a lot to unpack with the church.
Oh yeah.
So
That's
I did the whole book.
Yeah.
It ended up,
It's a lot.
it's a lot to unpack, more than I think I realized. And so I was like, and which, I had my own unpacking to do. I had my own unlearning to do. So obviously, there's something I had to chronicle. So I chronicle this journey of hurting and healing and the vantage points of the South from the perspective of Black queer lesbians, Southern Black queer lesbians. And when I mean Southern, I mean people who are born and or have been raised in the South. So it didn't have to be, you currently live in the South. It had to be, okay, I lived in the South, but then I moved, or I moved to the South, or I've been in the South all my life. So those are the three things I was looking at when I meant Southern. And so each chapter goes through the vantage points that Southern Black queer lesbians experience with the South. So I go through a silent South, the shameful and judgmental South. So that's when I talk about the church and condemnation and internal homophobia and those kind of things, the external and internal struggle. Then the judgmental South, so talking about heterosexism, heteropatriarchy, heteronormativity, and all those things, create this like Southern Black personality, which was fun to create. Talk about the Black lesbian thread. I go a lot into mass lesbians and their experiences in that chapter. And then not the final chapter, then go into, okay, how do we reconcile? So how do we find self-love, communal love, and love for the South? How do we make peace with the trauma, the church trauma that we experience a lot with the mamas? The mamas come up a lot throughout the text. Yeah, mamas, it was a lot dealing with that mama, okay? Listen, mamas come up a lot, which makes sense. I'm talking about snapping beans with grandma and them. So there's this maternal theme that comes out throughout the text the whole time. So how do you heal from that? And how do they heal from that? How did they reconcile with that? How did they find liberation, find their truth? Because, people tell me, oh, it's a coming out narrative. I'm like, but for Southern folk, it's not, because Southern folk use two things to mean one thing. Like one thing can have multiple meanings. So coming out is not really coming out for us, because we never really have like coming out as much as we have like an uncovering or a conscious raising of like, this is who I am, and this is how I choose to live my life. That's why they will say, I live in my truth, or I'm walking in my truth. We use things like that versus saying I'm coming out. So I talk a lot about that in the book. And then the last chapter goes into the Black queer lesbian South, where I'm like, this is where Southern Black queer girl can find place and space to thrive and exist in the South. And so that's when I call the Black queer lesbian South. But I interviewed 39 women in persons, and as my editor said, including me, because a little bit of my story is in there as well. In the academy, they called it autoethnographic work. So it's a little bit of myself while interviewing other people. So yeah, that was what the book is about. So what I like to think, I'm like Sheba, I'm just the messenger. While this is literally a part of me is in that story, and the story that's put in here, a lot of it is just me sharing what people shared with me and the vulnerability they had with me. I gave the skeleton. I said, this is the framework that I'm using. And the people that I interviewed, I call them interlocutors, they filled in the gaps. They're the ones who told me what to say. They said, no, it wasn't this, it was this. Oh no, I'm not queer, I'm actually lesbian. And really having to sit with that for me, and like all these different things. So I call myself the reporter of the Black queer lesbian South. Like I just report. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just sharing stories. So when people are like, they like the term lesbian, I'm like, most people I talked to said, no, I'm lesbian, I'm not queer. And I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's those kind of things that I talk about in the book. And so I hope that's just one. People asking me where's the next book, and then I want to slap them, but then like,
give me a break.
Yeah, I keep getting that too.
Yeah. Listen, I might be Milli Vanilli. This might be a one-hit wonder. I don't know. But
sometimes that's all it takes. You know, it takes that one.
Mhm.
It's that one that keeps it's timeless. Seems like you
Mhm.
got a timeless piece, and I definitely need to check it out because it's
Yeah.
you
It
dive
sounds
into
really
a lot
great.
of things.
Yeah.
that
Yes, I love it.
wait a minute, I hear all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I
people are
think it's what I love about it, and what I think people are really shocked about it is like these are conversations we have amongst one another. We
Mhm.
never really
having them
tell
out
other people.
on
Yeah.
yes, yes,
We never
yes.
really have it outside. So then, like, it's so funny. My mom read it, and I was like, "Oh God," because there's a lot of things dealing with mamas in there.
The mama-
And so my mom said, I learned a lot about you, right? Reading
I
this.
bet you did. I bet
Bet
you
you
did.
did. I bet you did, Ma. I bet you did. She was like, a lot of things, some of the things you were talking were above my head, but I learned a lot about you. And I was like, you know what? This is why I wrote it. Because
Exactly.
sometimes we have these conversations, but I'm like, other people need to know that we're
Yeah,
having these conversations. And these
Mhm.
are
absolutely.
our story, that we're Southern and deeply Southern. But how can we identify as Southern when we've had all this trauma with the South? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. But that's it. That's
Yeah.
the book. And the link is in my Amazon link, and I also put the publisher link because sometimes the publisher there can get quicker than Amazon for some reason. So I put both links in there.
Okay. Thank you so much. Lyric.
Yes, yes, yes. I know I said a lot about it before, so I won't go all the way back deep into there. I'll just say that, you know, this book is about going from despair to triumph, with just a whisper of hope, you know. And I want to say that I go into some very vulnerable places in this book, um, places where it left me in a panic, to even put it in my book, because I was like, how are people going to see me now? Um, will people see me differently? Especially when you always put on a front or mask, like you're strong, or you're not awkward, or so this is for those people that have always felt different as well, and who don't fit the norm, who don't do well in public, who don't, who are quiet and just sit in the back, we are still there. We still can and will make our voices heard, even if it may be a little bit more quiet, we're still there, So what I do want to talk about is I got my book here as well.
Hey.
And I created I created it myself, the cover myself, the back myself. I did the whole book myself. So what is really important for me is that when people see my book is the cover and how much thought I put into the cover. And the cover in itself is poetic and it's artistic and it's creative. Because my grandmother, she's the one who got me into writing at a young age, because she would write me positive affirmations before I even knew what they were.
Oh, wow.
So in the midst of writing this book, and I was actually writing her poem at the time, something said to me, like, go ask your mom to see her pictures, her old pictures. So I went in there, and I'm looking through the bin and I'm looking through stuff, and I'm like, Ma, what is these? And she's like, these are the letters that you wrote to your grandmother before she passed away. It was actually 25 years on the 28th of this month. So I literally found that when I was writing her poem,
Mhm.
and I had something else there, and I changed it and put the last letter that I wrote to her before she passed away on there. And it just says, to grandma. Also, I was going through my bin of like stuff from when I was writing back in like the early 2000s and stuff like that. And I found something called The Diary of Truth. And that was actually going to be the name of this book. And then I was like, I'll upgrade the title a little bit. So I changed it. But The Diary of Truth is exactly what this book is. It's my complete, utter, vulnerable truth from beginning to where I am now, and just the journey that it took and all the obstacles and, just discovering who you are and how much you change. So that's what it's about.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. And I don't know if you all realize, but every one of you have a theme. and it's on self-love, it's on self-care, it's on uplifting one another in our community and representation. And that is super, super, super important, because you don't see us in multiple places. It's something that is needed to be seen, because, as I said, representation matters. That's why we get so hype about Pride Month, because it's the time for us to celebrate ourselves unapologetically. So this is super, super important, and I thank you all for being vulnerable. And that actually goes into my next question. How do you balance personal vulnerability and public storytelling in your work?
Ooh, that's good. I think for me, I've learned that vulnerability is my superpower, but but privacy is my peace. I'm learning, especially being out in what I do, visibility, building the brand. It's out there. I'm out there. That can be a lot sometimes, and I know for me, I'm like, wait a minute, like, I want to be vulnerable, because I used to struggle with that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, how do I be this person that's empowering and telling people to stand in their truth and be visible, when there's sometimes I don't want to share everything? Like, how do you do that? And so I think before like I said, been in therapy, been on this journey of just like self-discovery, I'm realizing I can share those parts of me that I'm ready to share, but I can also share and preserve my privacy.
Amen.
Realizing when you put certain things out, you have to be ready for that. Everybody may not accept it. And it's you're gonna get criticism, you're gonna get love, but at the same time, it's like, for me, it's like, I can be where I am if I'm growing through something, and I can honor that phase of my journey. And then when I'm ready to share it, I share it. Even with my content, I share a lot of me in pieces. A lot of you, if you're close to me, you got access, a lot of my personal story, but I've learned that I can honor my privacy too, because we got to have something, right?
Exactly. We got to hold on to something. Exactly.
And so I think for me, it shows up like when I'm writing, when I do write and I put it out there, you can feel my experience. You can feel what I've gone through. And I think that's powerful in itself. But also sometimes while I'm going through it, I don't always want to share it because it's not time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean I'm not being vulnerable, because I will share if I'm having an emotional moment and I feel like sharing it, cool. But I don't know, y'all tell me, you've seen some people use social media and all the public stuff as I'm like, please go to therapy.
Exactly.
Listen,
we are not your therapist.
Not the group that. Take me out.
They're sharing everything.
Not ask for this.
I literally had a cousin that used to and I had to contact her one day, because I was like, yo, you're putting, first of all, for safety purposes, I'm a little concerned because you're putting your every update on Facebook, and you don't have to do that. Why are you doing that? Number one, I need to understand, what is that about? Like, why do you feel like you got to share every little detail with the world?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think for me, it's just, being able to be vulnerable and connect with those when I need to connect, but also honoring my peace when I need that privacy to go through it.
Yeah.
For me, my vulnerability in it came later. So as I was interviewing these women in persons, I tried to do the traditional academic thing of removing myself from the narrative, because I thought that there's a lot of pressure to make your work academically sound. And so that was part of the pressure that I was under, in terms of how do I integrate myself in this, but separate at the same time. But then as I was talking to one of my editors, I had several editors, but and so one of my editors said, how is it that these women in persons are being so vulnerable about their experiences and you don't share anything about you? And that really stuck with me, because how dare I expect such intimate, vulnerable stories and experiences and traumas from these folk, and I can't be vulnerable. So that vulnerability for me gave me an opportunity for me to be alongside the people that I interviewed, and to know that, and to have not only solidarity, but also visibility and representation, like we're talking about. I needed to have my story alongside them, because then the stories have a little bit level of authenticity. And even if I took the brunt of like, well, my work is accessible, or my work is as less academic seen, I'm okay with that, because I know why I did the work that I did. And I know that it's not just for me, as a lot of people do in the academy. When they write a book, it's about them. And I from the beginning, the book wasn't about me. I didn't even want to write the book. I'm just going to be completely 100%. I did not want to write this book. I was like, nope, not doing it. And they were like, nope, not doing it. And because it was a roller coaster. So yeah, I think that the vulnerability came with me being okay with sharing my story. And like you said, Coach D, it's like part of it is, what do I want to share? Like even the relationship with me and my mother, there were certain elements of it where, you know, there were certain elements of it where I didn't share all of what happened between me and my mother, but she did know through reading that book that, yes, I actually had an experience with you individually. And so that's why she was like, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. And I also think that because I was interviewing folks during COVID, I think that people were ready to talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and people were like, how do you get these very vulnerable stories? And I think it was just because, so it was two-sided. I was vulnerable, but they were vulnerable with me. And so I think the vulnerability came from the mutuality. It was like we were having a conversation. It was like a kiki. Snapping beans with one another. And then in snapping beans, and I talk about this in the text, the vulnerability that comes with snapping beans, because that's something we learned from grandma and them. Because when grandma and them are snapping beans with you, they're saying all the things, telling all the gossip. It's a space of vulnerability and intimacy among Black women, and that's something that we recreate in our queerness, in our lesbian communities that we create. So I think that vulnerability is part of the queer, specifically the Southern queer lesbian experience, because it's something we got from grandma and them. You know what I mean? So as I'm metaphorically snapping beans with these folk during COVID, and just having that level of vulnerability that they were willing to share with me, quite frankly. Some I'm a virtual stranger, but building that community because I allowed them to be vulnerable. And I think they were willing to be vulnerable because we were locked down, and we were wanting that connection to another person. So I think that led to that level of vulnerability also. So my vulnerability came in phases. And
yeah. I feel you. That's real. That's deep. I think all of us are being vulnerable too, but just standing in our truth. There's still a lot of people not standing in their truth. And then we're on top of that. Like, that's a totally different situation. And I didn't learn vulnerability growing up. Being a preacher.
Oh yeah, no.
We
didn't learn that.
Perfect, but
it's the opposite.
Behind closed doors. This is
right. You do your stuff behind closed doors.
That part.
Under the rug.
That part.
You know, I grew up with brothers. Like, I'm the only girl. And so I had to be rough and tumble. But I have this thing about me, and it went, as a kid, it bothered me that when I get upset, I start crying. So someone said, you know, when you cry, people think that you're weak. I said, well, when it comes to me, that's not what it is. It's giving you a warning.
Exactly.
To back up.
Period.
To back up and leave me alone, because after the tears is going to be something else, right?
Don't let these tears fool you.
So to be vulnerable, I'm a true Gemini. I am a mirror to the energy that is in front of me. It could be a child, it could be an adult, it could be an animal, whatever it is. I'm going to mirror the energy, and I'll tell people, if you meet 20 people that say they know me, believe whatever they said about me in our interaction, but also believe that the response they got from me was because of the reaction they gave to me, right? And so vulnerability I use it for children because they're so pure and they're, I have 6 grandchildren and 3 of which are triplets.
Oh, wow.
And,
My Lord.
And for people that I trust, which is very rare. You in life, you go through relationships, both personally and professionally, where you've trusted people and you're like, and they turn around and they do things. And I don't even get upset about it anymore. I say, this is life, right? You live it, you learn it, you take that lesson and you move forward with it.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is how people view the individual who is being vulnerable that shows who they are, not who we are.
Yeah.
So I take it as a grain of salt when people says, you're really emotional. I said, yeah, but I also have a lot of emotional intelligence. And I also know I have a lot of discernment. So I can see your nonsense coming 2 miles away. And so vulnerability is just this isn't an emotion, it's a state of mind. And it's easy when you trust people and when they look like you. But sometimes we all know too that those who look like us, or skinfolk and kinfolk.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to let that aspect of being vulnerable go too, because I'm gonna tell you in life, and I rarely say this publicly, but a lot of my opportunities in life did not come from people who look like us.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be very honest about that.
Yeah.
But I love Black people. I love us so deep that those times that the people who look like us did me dirty in the street didn't stop me to say, I'm gonna just give up on us, because I know there is worth in our community. And so again, I make myself vulnerable to the people because the people are who I need to get this message and this work done. And I'll just yield back from that. But
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Lyric.
Really, it's not much left to say. They really said it all.
Oh no, you got a word in your heart, Lyric. You got
Listen, I really do agree with Coach D. Like, I really do. For me, I was always almost naive. So I was always extremely vulnerable with my feelings, especially online, because it's like, I'm only going to tell y'all what I want to tell y'all, but I can still be as open as I choose to be. So I like that. I wasn't really vulnerable with the people in my life, like my close circle, as far as like my mom and my sister. Even though they're my best friends, it was just like I wasn't open to be vulnerable because we grew up like, okay, you gotta be tough, I'm working 3 jobs, it's hard, and you just learn to have tough skin, so you don't know how to shed that mask and be like, okay, I'm gonna be vulnerable and have this conversation and speak up on how it may affect me or hurt me or anything like that. So but at the same time, it was like I was naive because I always looked at everybody with like rose colored glasses, and I'm like, oh yeah, people are great. And I got into this season in this chapter of my life, and I was always timid and meek and quiet. And now that I'm in this chapter, it's like, listen, okay, I'm gonna still be vulnerable, but watch your mouth. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you how I choose to, but I'm gonna be respectful. But I'm gonna let you know that doesn't sit right with me, and I need you to fall back. Like, there's no more quiet Q. Like, don't say anything, Q. You can continuously hurt my feelings, and I'm just gonna let you know. I could be vulnerable, but you're going to know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't have the time or the space or the place for it. Like, my life consists of nothing but peace. I don't do drama. I don't even watch drama reality TV shows. Like, my life is extremely peaceful and I like it like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, listen, if you want to be around that, you got to be on a certain type of energy. And if not, I done lost a whole lot of people along this journey. So losing another one is nothing. And, you know, in the midst of that, I've gained even better people, even better circles, you know? So that's how I feel about that.
I appreciate that.
Love
Yeah.
that.
It's about the quality of the person, not the quantity
That's
of the
right.
people in your
Absolutely.
life.
That's right.
Sometimes you gotta
Absolutely.
set boundaries with the people closest to you. So
Man.
you know, listen.
Mhm.
And that
Strict
boundary
boundaries.
could be across an ocean.
Period.
Exactly. Very
Period.
much so.
There's an ocean between us.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Period.
That part.
That part.
That part.
I found
That part. So I'm gonna get into our last question. First of all, thank you so much for being on this panel. I've learned a lot. I got a lot of books to get.
No, we do.
Thank
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
But let
Thank
me
you
go
so
into
much.
our last question that I think is one of a very important question, but is what advice would you give an emerging Black queer writer looking to share their story?
Speak their truth.
Amen.
You
Mm-hmm.
write from a place of familiarity, vulnerability, and just honesty, and it'll flow. It will flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
Authenticity is everything, and it's relatable. People can feel when you've been.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fake shit in the world, but people often can feel when something is genuine and when it's real.
Mhm.
You know, so what's standing our truth and speaking that no matter who, what, why says something and us not giving a fuck, that really speaks volumes. So I would tell them to keep loving yourself, keep being yourself and share that, stand in that. Even if you feel like you're standing alone, you're really not. You're just waiting to stand with the right people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You never know who's going to need your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that part. Yes.
I think
That part. Someone is waiting for your story to be written.
Amen.
Mhm.
We can
Yep.
save
Mhm.
lives. We probably don't, it's probably people we don't even know that we're saving. And I hear these things. I know y'all probably hear it and people probably ain't even told y'all. But we are saving somebody, helping them so much when we share something.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
cosign.
When I saw my book was in Australia, I was like, yes, God. Yes.
In
Mhm.
Australia.
Okay,
I
Australia.
love it. I love it.
So listen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that what you said, Dee, is the biggest thing that I probably would say to somebody. Somebody needs your story.
Mhm.
Especially, and it's so interesting because there are about 2 or 3 like grad students that I'm on their committees or in working with them in some capacity, and their work is very similar to mine. And I don't know if I had this conversation with my wife or somebody, like a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, but it was a conversation that doesn't make you uncomfortable, and that's like, no, oh God, no, please carry on the torch, okay?
Exactly.
I want. And there's 101 people who talk about the Civil War. There's 101 people who talk about World War II. There's 101 people talking about, so Trump, if you will, and all the presidents. And so there's nothing wrong with having another book that celebrates and honors and uncovers another layer. Because I know I couldn't do everything in this book, and so I'm okay with the next generation of scholars to come behind me and say, hey, I took your work, but then I did this with it, or because that's what I did,
Right.
for people that I was reading. So yeah, I think that's the biggest part, is just to, you have a story to tell. You have a story to tell, and it needs to be told. And I'm glad someone told me that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, I was not gonna write the book. I told you I wasn't. No, I'm not doing that. E. Patrick Johnson did it. I'm good.
I'd rather tell my,
Now.
I'd rather have the power to tell my story than have somebody else telling it. I want to be.
That's right. That's right.
That's true.
Let me tell my own story. You see that all the time. People don't even, things happen to people, and sometimes they be like, oh, that's not how it happened, but they're too afraid to tell their story. Do it. But that's not how it happened.
Just start. That's my advice. Just start. Just do it. The first book that I wrote, I started off as Q Cipher the Poet. because I'm a freestyle poet. I just write what I want to write. It just comes off my head and I just write it and put it on paper, and that's how we go. So my first book, Scattered Pieces, I was like, I said I was going to put out a book and publish a book for my grandmother and honor her in that way. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I just randomly just put it out there, and it ended up being a bestseller. So it's just like, just start, just do it. Who cares? I thought I was going to sell one book. I was like, listen, my mama gonna buy the book and she gonna see it and I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be proud of myself. Like, mama, look here, I did it. I made it. So I was expecting to sell one book, but it went way above and beyond that. So my advice is just start, just do it. Who cares? If you only get one sale, who cares? Just do it. It still deserves to be out there. Somebody somewhere needs it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big one. Just start.
Yes.
Yes.
One. I appreciate that. Now I want to go into questions. Does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand and we can get started on questions. Anyone?
Someone says they're in the process of writing the book now.
Yeah. Deborah.
Yes.
That's Deborah, my friend Deborah.
Oh, Deborah.
Deborah. Oh, sorry. So sorry.
No, okay.
Correction.
I ain't Deborah, her name spelled like that, so that's why I was sorry, Deborah.
I love it.
What's your book about? Do you mind sharing what you're writing about?
I didn't know if you wanted. Did you want me to do audio or
audio? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to address this panel. This is wonderful, a wonderful experience, and I'm happy to be here. Definitely in support of all of you wonderful human beings. So God bless you all. My name is Deborah. I'm also known as DB Truth. I've done some freelance poetry way back in the day. But I feel like the spirit has called me back to my original area of creativity, which is writing. And I have not written in a long time. I've been having my hands in a lot of other projects. Q knows that's my people's right there. And we talk about collaborating as well. But this book is about a lot of things. But it's a memoir for speaking about some things about my personal experience that led me to a space of no longer being a people pleaser. So it is Diary of a Former People Pleaser. it really,
I need to read. I retired that energy a long time. I want to read.
Yeah. So I'm working on that now, and I've actually been using that hashtag on some of the like videos that I've been putting up, because I never was really big on or necessarily aspiring to be a content creator, but like I said, I'm just moving by the spirit and it's just happening that way. So I've been posting a lot more frequently. And so it just kind of fell into it. It just happened that way. I'm literally just doing a video and I hashtag Diary of a Former People Pleaser, and then it just happened right there. Okay. I got to my computer and I just started, and I'm on like chapter 6 now. So pray for me.
Okay.
But I'm happy to be amongst all these brilliant minds. And I'm definitely in support of all of you, and I'll follow your journey as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And congratulations.
Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, fam.
If y'all are on Instagram, I'll put my Instagram on there. We can follow you.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any more questions or comments, or authors? Do you have anything else that you want to say? What's coming up next for you all?
Pride Month, Jesus. Yeah, I am outside in these streets. It's straight for me. That's all I can say.
Like I said, I'm kind of in an in-between space in my life right now. And, I'm not full-time in the academy, and I'm like, I have some time. So I started working on a podcast based on people being like, well, what's the next? I feel like this needs to be a podcast, the way you do interviews and things like that. I'm like, everyone has a podcast. That was my response. Everyone has a podcast. I'm not doing it. But decided to go ahead and give it a try. And it's something that I am enjoying, that's giving me joy. Talking a little bit more about the book. And one of the things that people kept telling me was, oh, I love the accessibility of the book. So I'm happy that it's accessible, but I want it to be even more accessible. So
Yeah.
that's where the podcast comes in. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at this point. Um, until something else pops up in my life,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. I
Yeah.
hear the nonprofit, so I'm like, do I need to do a nonprofit? But I'm like, ugh, I
Girl.
It's
Girl.
it's so worth it though. It really is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Several people have asked me to do a podcast. When I was running for city council, I had a IG live, and it was She Had the Tea, and
Ooh.
I brought on different people who were experts in their field, and we talked about
Mhm.
those issues that affect the Black community.
Mm.
And if I was going to have, don't steal my idea, anybody out here going to be looking at this. But
Mhm.
it would be She Has the Tea podcast.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
again, people are still asking me to run for office, and I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, I do know, but spirit is like, just do it.
Right. Right.
So again, walking in purpose, walking in agreement, walking in what God said for me to do, because He doesn't just give one person an idea, but
Exactly.
Mhm.
He's going to support the person or
Mhm.
people who listen and are or who are obedient. And
Exactly.
sometimes,
Mhm.
and sometimes I ain't the most obedient.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it, but yeah.
Yeah. Lyric.
Huh? Oh, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. Um, okay. My next book that I have coming out is called Fractals of a Displaced Mind, and it's about being neurodivergent. And I just kind of learned that I was on the autistic spectrum, so I write about that, and it speaks on the five senses as well in that book. So it's just a little touch on that. And then I'm also working on a poetic guided journal. I won't say the name of it yet, but um, I'm currently working on that, and I released Whispers of Resilience in March. Just got the other book published in May, and now working on my fourth book. So I've been working really hard on just writing and putting myself out there, creating content. Even though I don't like to be seen, I like to be behind the scenes. But here I am. So
Yeah.
just trying to put my face out there more, and just doing it regardless, doing it if I'm scared. Like, this is my first author panel ever in my life. Like, this is my first Zoom panel, any type of thing in my life. So this is all new to me. But I was like, you know what? Do it. Why not? Just do it. Like, yeah, you deserve to do this. Like, do it. So, I'm just making myself do the things that I fear, that scare me, that are new to me. And yeah, that's all. That's it. And I'm just gonna keep on striving, creating new connections, villages, safe spaces, being an advocate for chronic illnesses, invisible chronic illnesses, and chronic pain, and just being a voice for us, because we deserve to be heard. And I just will not stop. I'm going to be relentless in my
Yeah.
fight, and that's it.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, because I'm an introvert myself and I love being behind the scenes. So me doing any of the panels, I'm like, can I get a host? Can I get somebody else to do this? I'm always thinking about that, even last minute. And I'm like, no, you gotta be out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
same.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, I understand why in some ways, particularly with the work that we do.
Yeah.
Um, because I know even starting this podcast and even making, me and my wife have this conversation a lot about like having more of a public facing Instagram. And I'm like, I'm afraid to do that, and I
Mhm.
don't know whether it's because of, the America that we live in now,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
real, and there's that fear of like, I don't want to get trolled because I know the moment I get trolled, I'm gonna cry. I'm just gonna be honest.
You get used to it. You get used to it. That I've been trolled. You get used to it,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and I'm like, it's unfortunate, right? That that's even a norm, but like, it's a love. I guess it goes back to that vulnerability. Am I ready
Yeah.
to share myself with the world?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I get that. And, as an academic, we're used to kind of being, oh, we're just chilling ivory tower and doing our thing. But, I'm a little kind of different in terms of academic because I'm very much more in the community. Very much more in the community and very much more like when they come to me about like community engagement, I'm like, that's all we do. Okay. I'm a Black woman.
Yeah.
My work isn't to serve y'all, it's to serve me and my community. So I think there's a legit fear of that as well. So I want to honor that.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all being here. My Pride, the BL Pride Month calendar is out. Our conference, for those who do not know, I talk about it, I feel like way too much, but in September 18th to the 20th in Metro Atlanta, we're having a Black Queer Women's Conference. It's a 3-day long event. The first day is our welcome reception. So we're going to have a live auction. We're going to have light hors d'oeuvres, a DJ, photo booth, and then the 2 days of the conference are a wide variety of topics. So we're going to talk about financial literacy. We're going to have a masculine lesbian panel. We're going to have a couples panel, a parenting panel. I'm going to have someone talk about healthy relationships. We're going to have someone talk about suicide prevention, domestic violence, and actually reproductive justice. And it's a full 2 days, 2 days long, but it's going to be great. It's a way for us to come together as a community, because at this point in time, we know what's going on out there. So we need to create a space, a safe space where we can collectively share our ideas, network, and make sure that we don't stop and we continue to move. We could be scared, that's fine, but we need to come together and collaborate. And so that's what the conference is about, doing it in person instead of virtually, because BL is, I'm virtually, like, I have 67 Facebook groups. So virtually, I feel like I've hit as much as I can, but I want us in person to come together and have that same sisterhood and talk about these important topics. So if you're able to make it, please do. If you have any questions on it, just contact me. And yeah, I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, how many of y'all are in Atlanta? Because I'll be in Atlanta in August. So how many of y'all are in Atlanta? I can bring my book.
I'm in New York.
Oh, you in New York, Lyric? You and Sheba, you in New York too?
I sure am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out there. I gotta get up there.
Wait.
Yeah. Mass Gym bosses will be in New York. That's not even a problem.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Friday, the end of the month of June. So yeah.
Yeah, it's lit out here.
Yeah, y'all Pride is about to be
I ain't got no room. I ain't got no room for June.
You sure don't.
I feel like I need to go sleep for the next 48 hours. But wait, it starts tomorrow.
It's literally tomorrow.
Starting next weekend, it is crazy. I'm just like outside. So
keep us posted on everything that you're doing. If you want to send a post or promote your book, please let me know. Send me the information. I do have a book club group as well. So let's continue to have these conversations. And just thank you so much for being a part of the panel.
Thank you for
the audience. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Nice meeting you guys.
You too.